Hello, my name is Lisa Shea. I have been doing origami on YouTube since March 2007, so quite a long time. And I made quite a lot of videos in the early years, and in the recent years I haven't posted many videos at all, and a number of people have asked why. And then there are some people who see some of my recent videos in my art areas and in other areas, and they can tell why. It's because my hands have gotten very shaky over the years. What I have is a familial tremor, or an essential tremor. It's something that my father has and that I now have myself. So it just means that my hands are fairly shaky. They can be less shaky sometimes and more shaky at other times, but they're always pretty much shaky. And I guess I've been a little self-conscious about doing videos with it, but finally I decided, you know what? This isn't something that's going to get better. It's something that I just need to be at terms with. And I wanted to do a video to talk with people who may also have tremors. This kind of tremor is different from Parkinson's. It's not going to cause me trouble with breathing or swallowing or anything like that. It's just going to be trouble with my hands shaking and other issues involving dexterity. But I'm very fortunate that I don't have Parkinson's and have to face some of the challenges that people with Parkinson's have. So I'm grateful for that. But in terms of doing origami and other artistic projects, it means that I have to adjust what I do, because I do watercolors and photography, and trying to hold a camera steady is just not really possible anymore. So I use tripods and I use other techniques. So let's talk about if you're trying to do origami and you're working with someone who has either an essential tremor or Parkinson's or something else that's going to cause unsteady hands, what some ideas are that you could do to help with that. So first off is to work on something sturdy and heavy that's not going to move around. You can work on a bare table if that works for you. I use a go board because it is solid wood and nice and sturdy and heavy. But that way you have something solid to be working against. And for paper, they have all sorts of different kinds of paper out there. You might want to experiment with thicker paper or thinner paper. There's textured papers. It might be that for some people having slippery paper is harder to work with and it's better to use a textured paper. I don't know if I have a textured paper in this pile to show you. Like this one has some texture to it. So something like that might work better for you. Or like these here have a texture to them. So I would work with different kinds of papers and see what works better in terms of what you're able to hold and so on. I would definitely work with larger paper and not with smaller paper. They have origami squares that come in all sorts of tiny sizes to be able to do teeny cranes, and I don't see any of my, oh, here's one. I do a lot of cranes for earrings and such, and when you're working with paper that small, it can get really hard if your hands are shaky. So I recommend using larger pieces of paper. They even have sheets that are larger than this to help you out. And just go slow and patient. When you're making a fold, get a point connected as well as you can. And I mean, there's no race. Take your time to get it in the right point. And then what I do is I'll hold that part down, and then I will slide a finger down to the opposite point and cause the crease, and then drag the crease out to the different sides. And my hands are shaky, but the pressing motion is still going to be steady because it's just your finger down on the board that it's on. And it doesn't really matter if the finger is shaking while it's doing it. It doesn't really matter if the finger that's holding it straight is shaking, because it's just holding those two pieces together. So in the same way, if you're doing a fold like this, you get them to match. And if it takes you a little while, if you're moving around, that's fine. Eventually you'll get them to match, and then just hold that down the best you can. If the hand's shaking, that's okay. Drag your finger over to the crease area and drag it to get those creases down solid. You might experiment. Right now I'm standing because of the way I have this setup done, but it might be that you work better when you're standing. It might work better for you if you are sitting down and you're able to get the rest of your body steady. It can also make a big difference, at least it does with me, if you have eaten recently or not. I know people for whom when they eat recently their systems are fairly steady, and if they're starving for some reason, that it can be harder for them to be steady and they become more shaky. So that definitely is true for me. I also avoid, all caffeine. Don't drink coffee. Don't drink tea. Even the tea that's called decaffeinated tea still has a bit of caffeine in it. So I only drink herbal teas like chamomile and stuff like that. Try to avoid chocolate, even though I really like chocolate. But, I appreciate having steady hands more. So make some changes to my lifestyle. Make sure you get ample sleep. I mean, that's a huge thing. I always aim for 8 hours of sleep a night, and usually I get it. So that makes a big difference in how steady my hands are. But see, like even trying to get my thumb in here, with it being shaky, that can be tricky. But just, take your time, get it in the right place. And I think a big part of it is that just accept that all of us have growing, changing bodies. And there are so many other challenges out there that people are dealing with, which are so much worse than just having shaky hands. That, I know it's a pain. I know it's a pain to use spoons instead of forks when you're eating and all that other kind of stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, there are many worse things to have to deal with. And I am grateful that it is something that is within my realm of dealing with. So I'm just folding a crane here to show how this works. But see, like even trying to catch that with my finger, my hand is a little shaky and it becomes a challenge. And, that's okay. You just have to, if you get yourself wound up and get frustrated, then generally the shakiness just gets worse, which is not helpful. So learn to be compassionate with yourself, to be patient with yourself, and to do the best you can. And if you used to love doing tiny little origamis for earrings, like I did, and now you can't manage the little stuff, then, find something else that you can move on to that you can handle. This is the way life goes. Life is always changing and updating and putting challenges in our path. And we keep moving forward as best we can. So there is a crane. It's certainly harder for me to do that than I used to. I used to be able to, zip through a crane in no time at all with no problems at all. And now it's a little harder, and that is okay. So, essential tremors make it a challenge to do origami, but you can certainly still do it. Just work with large pieces of paper, maybe work with thicker pieces of paper that have texture. Maybe do simpler designs that have less folds that you can manage, and be slow and patient with yourself. We all do the best that we can. Let me know if you have any questions.